Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this Mars One now alongside Mr. Middlecop. Sir, hello.
Hello there. Hope you're doing well. I've just realised that I didn't mute Parsec, so I could hear everything twice there, which was very exciting. But I'm also excited for the League of Legends games that we've got ahead of us.
Yes, we do use Parsec here, ladies and gentlemen. We have all kinds of finagling going around. We don't even produce this show on a local computer anymore. I know.
No.
I know. Groundbreaking stuff here at the LJL.
I mean, a caveman could have understood our setup last year, but show what we've got in 2022 to someone in the Middle Ages, and they'd have no idea.
Caveman did operate in 2020. We moved away from the Stone Age in 2021, and now we're in the modern era in 2022. Talking about breaking ground, Middlecop. Coming into this first match for you.
Yeah.
We need to talk about this because you said some rather surprising things to me when we were in the break about this V3 match, V3 Esports facing off against AXIZ. And I want to first come over and talk about where do you see this game first going from a prediction point of view.
First of all, screw you, Lexi. Second of all, I actually think that V3 are going to be breaking some new ground today, and I'm actually going to predict them to get their first win of the split. I'll dive into it a little bit more later, Lexi, but for sort of viewers at home that maybe haven't caught as much LJL as we have, can you tell them why that might be perhaps a surprising prediction?
V3 Esports haven't won a game. They are 0-14. They literally have the best streak in the LJL because Rascal Jesters are on like an 8-win streak or something like that at the moment. Maybe 9. I don't know. It's a long one. DFM obviously had a pretty long one of 11 until they lost that one. No, V3 undefeated, 0-14. So, I mean... Got to break the streak at sometimes. Undertaker only went so long. So, I mean, this one will have to go right? And you think this is the matchup for it. So why is that? Okay,
so to dive into this a little bit deeper, I want to take a look at the solo lanes because I think this is an area that we highlighted sort of last split as a weakness for AXIZ. And coming into this year, it hasn't really improved. Obviously, they've had the swapping go along with their top laner. Previously, they had... can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Poppy OTP.
Yellow Yoshi.
Yellow Yoshi playing the Smite, Poppy top and the Rakan and all that good stuff. Subbing them out for Toltu, who, for my money, has been a different style, but not too much better. And then for V3, their solo lanes have actually been really their strongest part. AUGO in the mid lane has had a little bit of a champion ocean. You can argue about how effective it's been, but he is a guy that is willing to play a lot of different stuff and is one of the more experienced members on this V3 roster who all previously played in Academy together. And then Washidai on the top side, every time I seem to see this guy get Camille, he's popping off on it. And for a V3 team, going stuff like 6-4, 5-3, that's a pop-off in my book. And as long as V3 don't find themselves falling to early deficits, I definitely think that these two solo laners can be the catalyst to push them forward and grab their first win of the split.
That's a lot of stuff you just said there. Let's start recapping over it because I want to talk about this top side matchup because you are very much on the side that if he gets Camille, he'll be good. So what happens if they ban Camille and Tol2 gets that Kennen again?
Game over. No, but I do think that kind of for both of these teams that the win conditions do end up being very, very narrow. You can throw bans at Washidai, but then you end up leaving stuff like the Jinx that can go through for Dresco, which is his most played, and then a UGO, stuff like the Syndra, stuff like the LeBlanc, these aggressive picks in the mid lane that can get stuff going. So whilst I agree, the Camille probably should be a focus for AXIZ, it would leave them in a spot where they're not necessarily banning out all the champions that they may want to.
I mean, this is an AXIZ that has been looking slightly better over recent days as well. Like, this is a team that beat obviously your favorite team in the LJL, and they haven't dropped a game to V3 Esports yet. So, I mean, this is very much like we should be expecting. Typically, if you just look at the results, you look at recent patterns, V3 Esports have been looking better, but they've never really looked like they've been knocking on the front door of any of these other teams, whereas AXIZ have been, and they're looking a lot better than they've really ever have. Not as good as, obviously, other seasons that this August had, but this is looking solid. Their playoffs contentions, though, they need to win a match like this to actually secure playoffs versus the Hawks, who are well and truly on their heels, though.
Yeah, and I think if Hawks didn't win against Burning Core yesterday, then maybe this matchup is a little bit more relaxed. But
true, very true.
With both sort of the Hawks and AXIZ being sat at those sort of 4-win mark, it means that every game is very important, and this is one that you really need to be winning. We're seeing rosters on the screen. V3 Esports there, Washida Unica, Ayugio, Dress Code, and Hetel, who has been struggling a little bit so far this season. And then AXIZ on the other side, Toltu Swamp, Megamin, Dicey, and Sankshu, who's been the main carry for them, rounding out that bot lane.
Sankshu has been pulling in huge duty in a lot of spots. And honestly, Swamp as well has been finding those angles in a lot of these team fights and really kind of enabling the whole team. Amazingly, these teams are basically tied third for Dragons, which is not too surprising because they do put a lot of reliance and pressure onto those first few Dragons. They're not so good afterwards, both these two teams, although AXIZ have actually found success with Dragon stacking and getting souls and kind of winning through those win conditions, whereas V3, I don't think have actually secured a Dragon Soul.
I think you are probably correct on that one. It's not something that I've specifically researched, but being 0-14 and having the fastest game time against you does mean that you don't tend to pick up too many Drakes. And I think that maybe
but they don't have the fastest average game time anymore.
Oh, do they not anymore?
No, DFM have that, of the only team who is sub 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well,
V3 Esports have well and truly gone in the opposite direction now.
They're not even first in game time. Oh.
No, they are last in pretty much everything. It's getting worse and that's something I would like to discuss briefly, as a lot of these other teams are getting ready for playoffs. V3 Esports, this is a must-win if they have any hopes or dreams of making it to playoffs. Because, I mean, while you could go, their playoff dreams are basically dead. Hey, if they run, like, the gauntlet at this moment in time, if they go, like, 4, 5, 6-0... there's a chance. Like, if you only drop games to Burning Core, if you only drop games to like Destination Focus Me and Rascal Jesters, for instance, or Sengoku, right?
Yeah,
you could still beat AXIZ and Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. They're not going to get those wins over you, and you're going to kick them to the side. They're only going to get 1 win. 6 wins is still a lock in a way.
Yeah,
it's a soft lock, but that's copium.
It's a tough one. It's going to be a difficult run, whatever happens. But we are going to be jumping into Champion Select for this one. AXIZ here on the blue side, V3 on the red. Support seemed to be the focus from AXIZ so far. V3 spreading their bans a little bit more evenly.
I mean, AXIZ just have an idea. They know they've clearly done some scrimming, and I feel like that's what we saw yesterday as well. We're definitely starting to see scrim results and levels of play bleeding now into the LJL, which makes total sense when you consider the fact that we're in Super Week now. We are in the last round robin now, and this is the time to actually start pulling out that stuff you started learning from scrims, start throwing the tape out there, really showing this is how you can beat X, Y, and Z team. This is how you do this. AXIZ deciding, okay, we're going to go not with the Hawks drafting philosophy. We're actually going to draft our jungler first. It's going to be that Hecarim, and Hecarim has been seeing a huge uptick. Issue is he's not so good into a big bad bear.
Yeah, no Rise first pick, and you do end up with that jungle trade. I feel like the Hecarim and the Volibear have really sort of risen in priority to be these two top-tier junglers, replacing stuff like the Trundle, like the Jinzhou, like the Jarvan that we'd seen in previous patches. Yu-Gi-Oh, though, getting his hands on this Syndra. We did talk about one of these aggressive picks that has a lot of pressure in the mid lane, and Megamin has tended to be one of these players that has kind of faltered under that pressure at points, so we'll have to see whether V3 are able to use this pick effectively.
However, I agree with you. However, Megumin has always had Yu-Gi-Oh's number in this 1v1. Every single time they've played, ever since they played in that playoffs match, you remember in 2021 summer?
Oh, yes.
Ever since. And every single match they've played in this split alone, Megamin has had the advantage. He's had Yu-Gi-Oh's number and won the 1v1. So I would be trembling if I was Yu-Gi-Oh right now, because you have literally given an opportunity to counter pick yourself. AXIZ don't even care. Mega Man is so confident in himself. They're just like, nah, we're going to do the standard thing. Draft our bot lane. Samira here. We're not on 12.4. No, we're on 12.4. We're not on 12.5. What the fuck?
Jinx is open. Aphelios is open. Jin is open. Xayah is open. And we get a Nautilus Samira. I mean, if AXIZ haven't just completely indicated the lane that they want to play towards with these picks, I don't know. This is so lane focused, and then coming in with the Xayah as the response for V3? What?
Okay, maybe they just saw Hybrid lose on Jinx, and they're like, yeah, guys, maybe Jinx just isn't that good.
Champion's washed, it's awful, unplayable now.
Did you just see Yuhi beat Hybrid in the 2v2? That's how that game went out.
Yeah.
He played the Xayah, and that's how he... No. As let's come into the second rotation of bans, it's going to be important to notice, obviously, support was not picked up for the side of V3 Esports, and now V3 are having to... draft heavily into their mid matchup, and it's like, why have you put yourself here? There are so many counters for Syndra if you blind pick her in a spot like this. And this is also enough information that AXIZ can go, okay, we know what your top laner, well, your mid laner is, so we're going to draft an AD carry who literally has a wind wall. Like, what is Syndra going to do to Samira? Actually, fuck all. And I'm sorry I swore on broadcast, but what the heck is going on? I am so molding right now with these pick and ban
do you know what? I don't think the audience has noticed. I think you've gotten away with it, Lexi. V3 throwing another ban into that mid lane with the Vex taken off the table. AXIZ responding with that Rakan as well. V3, they could go for their support pick here, lock in that 2v2 and leave themselves top lane counter pick, and that's what this Braum is going to do.
Okay, well, I wasn't expecting a Braum, and Braum's shield isn't super good into Samira for pretty obvious reasons. Passive is pretty good, knock-up is pretty good, but Samira doesn't really care half the time because she's just going to Devil Trigger.
Yeah, she kind of just dashes past you, teleports behind you, nothing personnel, kid, goodbye. Orianna, safe lock-in for Megamin in the mid lane, can just go even.
He's had Yu-Gi-Oh's number. I don't recall they've played this matchup specifically, but I mean, I really like it. They've got perfect ball carriers with Dicey and Swamp both on fantastic champions. And I mean, if this cannon gets locked in for Tile 2, they've got quad decent ball carriers, triple with them. Obviously, you don't really want to put it on the Samira, but hey, I mean, if you put it on the Samira to shield her and then multiple members get near her, you're going to have a whale of a time, and that Samira will literally pop off. I'm loving this draft from AXIZ. They have gone, we're going to 5v5, and V3 Esports drafted... I don't even know, dude.
You don't even know, but we were talking about it, man. Get Washida in one of these split pushing carries like that Gwen or like this Camille.
It's all on Washida.
And he can really pop off.
It's all on Washida. It's literally all on him, dude. He is... I mean, we called it out. You called it out. You named him first, and I don't disagree with you. Washida has been a lot of the power that's come out. The issue is, Tile 2 beat Nap in a 1v1 scenario and was far more impactful on this Kennen. So he's already proved it once versus a veteran of the LJL. And the fact that V3 Esports allowed it to stay up with how they decided to draft, remember, if they had actually not picked their mid lane, if Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't picked there, they would have been able to... they would have been able to have had more options for their pick and ban phase. They could have drafted the support. They didn't have to throw their bans in. They could have banned that Kennen away and it wouldn't have happened. Middlecott, to you.
Washida's got Camille, V3 are going to win.
Yeah, not with this pick and ban phase, mate. I'm sorry. I actually would agree with you, but not with this pick or ban phases. Let's have a quick look at these two roster lineups. Tile 2, Swamp, Megumin, Sangchu, and Dicey for the side of AXIZ with their 5-man Death Ball comp. Middlecott, what are these three trying to do?
They're trying to win the game, Lexi. That's the main goal in every single League of Legends match. They got a little bit of disengage with the Xayah and that Braum in the bot side. Early aggression that can come out from a Yu-Gi-Oh and Unica in that sort of mid-jungle 2v3, and then Washidai as a little bit of late-game insurance with a split-push threat on this Camille. It's a lot of champions that do a lot of different things.
Yep.
But V3 are going to be hoping that one of those things includes winning the game. Lexi, we are going to be jumping onto Summoner's Rift in just a moment's time for V3 against AXIZ.
Lots of people might not be excited for this match. A lot of people might miss this match, but in actuality, this might be the actual match of the day. And I will say that about every single game, because we're at the LJL. This is my favorite region middle card. The LCS. What good games do I get? If I see a TSM game, I'm like, well, I mean, that's not really worth me watching half the time. I mean, CGL is exciting to watch at the moment, but the rest of these teams, they're kind of just do standard stuff. Who would draft like AXIZ outside of AXIZ? Really?
No. Have you played Clash? I'm pretty sure I've seen things like this in some of my Clash games.
I hate you and love you at the same time.
If we're gonna continue the sort of LCS analogy, I mean, the good thing about V3 is at least they didn't spend $5 million to be last place in their league, which is kind of a W. Both these junglers going to be starting on the bottom side of the map. Lexi, I don't know if this is just dumb play-by-play brain, but I feel like Unica wants to be on the map, causing some action swamp, a little bit more farm-focused in the early levels.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we did see that last matchup with Hachimecha and Rascal Jesters when they were playing the Volibear. I mean, sometimes you just want to get 6 and then you can just dive. So I mean, Volibear is one of those versatile champions. It is into a non-dueling matchup because the opponent decided to draft. So I mean, that's a pretty good start for AXIZ. So the Hecarim is not going to be as bad into this Volibear. Obviously, I mean, they kind of just smack each other in front of each other and then kind of go separate ways and do their separate things. So I mean, we won't see much dueling between these two junglers because they don't do much. As such, I think it's going to be really important to see which lanes these two junglers are going to have pressure at this moment in time. I have to imagine it's going to be the top side because these are just two rather dueling champions that want to jostle for a victory, find the victory, and a good way of doing that is with jungle support, I believe. At least Solo Q's taught me that.
Yeah, well, got a 2v1. Generally, you're a bit more likely to win that than the 1v1. As it stands, though, the wave is quite firmly near Toltu's tower, which means that it's going to be difficult for Unica to actually get any access onto the cannon, at least until he hits that level 6 mark. Sancho and Dicey securing the push in the bottom side. The Smear is a champion who can be pretty strong in early levels. As I say that, Unica is looking for swamp in this jungle. This is what we were talking about. The Volibear wants to get out on the map, wants to get aggressive early, and, well, just look at the lane priority. Look at the resources that V3 are dedicating, moving both solo laners over to secure this Gromp invade.
Yeah, but Swamp is already running over. He's going to go and secure that rift, the Scuttle Crab on the other side. You can already see the pings coming out. It's like, okay, you get my Gromp. That sucks. But Volibear does have a faster first clear than Hecarim, so that like makes complete sense why, hey, Unica should go for the invade. And an early Unica in the season, we wouldn't have seen that from.
No.
In all fairness. This is adaptation, this is an evolution of the player, and it's fantastic to see.
And this is why I've been a little bit more up on V3 in these sort of later weeks, because yeah, they're still 0-14. Yeah, they are yet to win a game. And whilst Washidai and Yuji have been doing good, Unica's had a couple of half-decent performances. He has been let down a couple times by some Jarvan flag and drag, but the less we talk about that, the better. And V3, they're not massively behind at 4 minutes, which is, do you know what, generally a positive thing. We'll have to see whether they can use the stability that they've managed to get themselves in the early levels to secure anything more. Washidai going for short trade up against Toltu in the top side, but isn't going to get anything more out of it.
Oh, and if anything, I think he actually lost out on that trade with all of the creep aggro that they ended up soaking up, and also the passive not being on the right side. It was on armor, not magic resist, so the cannon was able to proc a bit more damage. And V3 Esports normally get the first 8 minutes fine. It's normally around the 10 to 12 minute mark. That's when everything has fallen apart, and by 14 minutes, the game's already over. So what we need to see is V3 Esports in this match get to 14 minutes and for the rift to not be on fire for them. If we can get to there, we've got a damn good match ahead of us.
It's a small ask. It's a small ask. It's just
I'm just setting expectations for our viewers here, mate. I mean, history has repeated itself.
Right, so the viewers should expect, if this is a normal V3 game, horrible things are about to occur in the next 2.5 minutes.
No, they'll make it to the next 2.5 minutes.
They'll make it to... and then it all falls apart.
That's when it all falls apart. Okay. Oh, wait, I might have got my timings wrong, maybe.
Maybe not, but that ward just in time to spot out Swamp as he's attempting to ingress into Washidai's lane. V3 seeing the jungler on the top side of the map will respond and pick up an early Ocean Drake. That healing is going to be much appreciated as, hold on, Washidai stayed a little bit too long, does have access to the Hextech ultimatum, but Swamp is ghosting. They want to get this kill, and I think they're going to grab it as well. First blood for Toltu.
Well, I said it could go bad at 8 minutes. It's going bad, but V3 Esports were able to at least secure that first dragon, which is not something they always get to do. So, hey, I'm going to take the small wins. I mean, TPs are being traded because Toltu did use his TP prior to actually go back, buy that Ruby Crystal and the Amp Tomb to then come back to the lane. So, I mean, they had that extra damage, which was clearly very much needed here. However, the side of Swamp and Toltu were able to secure that. That's why you play Black Magic, baby. Oh, Swamp, I am going to abuse your name. Trust me, buddy. This is my namesake. Turn on Thoughtseize with that jungle pathing, mate. Oh, feels too good.
Yeah. You better a little bit of a demonic tutor yourself, sort of telling the viewers how you expect this game to go as well.
Oh, I mean,
just so everyone is aware, it's a Magic the Gathering reference.
Oh yeah, no, we are only doing MTG references here. We're not doing like some weird thing. I mean, sacrificial packs have been signed, but I mean that was with the V3 gods.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
Oh come on, I could go for years, mate, with this. I was born and bred. I mean, I've got a demonic ritual for all of the things that I do because Swamp is gonna ramp up this game and it's gonna feel. Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, no.
Mate, I've literally played mono black decks in professional play. Like, this is literally my wheelhouse. We haven't had any player with remote references, and the fact that we get Swamp, also good.
But the thing is,
Forest?
The thing is, Lexi, I haven't played Magic the Gathering since 2013, so I can kind of understand the references to a certain extent, but they don't fully gel. Dicey taking a whole heck of damage there as the feathers are pulled back by dress code, and bot lane isn't somewhere that we've looked too much so far this game, but Sanctu doing reasonably well, has built himself a small CS lead, and if Dicey keeps going forward like that, maybe he's going to die, but Sanctu can definitely turn it around and get a double.
Oh, absolutely, but they are really waiting for Dicey to hit 6, because then you can get the double knock-up. With Samira knock-up, obviously comboing with Dicey's knock-up, you can chain CC, and this Sire very much could just die if they land their CC alone in the lane 2v2, and that's where it really falls on Hatel to be that support, to be that kind of guard. The problem is, Double Trigger, if you get behind a Braum Shield, it just doesn't matter. I said this in pick and ban phase, and that's why I'm not really a huge fan of this pick into a Samira. Doesn't do what it does against a lot of other AD carries, so weird spot to be in. In actuality, the more I think about it, I think this was technically an angle for something like a Lulu, really.
Ooh, Unica. Thinking about it. Currently out of vision. Told to...
Where's that ward?
He's playing with a lot of respect, but he doesn't know where the bear... We don't know where the bear is. I think the bear is probably going to be ganking top lane soon, but Washidai... Oh, my lord.
Told just knows it. That
is a lot of damage traded back though, Lexi. I know he's got that Hextech alternator, but that still feels a little bit disrespectful that he could just throw out Q, auto W, and then just take around about half of Washidai's health bar.
I mean, 4 members off the side of V3 Esports all rotated around to this top side, but then they're just kind of like, yeah, we can't get anything out of this. And a player that had gone top side was Swamp as well. He had that Rift Herald and kind of was like, you know what? It doesn't look like anything else is going to be here. I'm going to reset. I'm going to get back on the map. He's got that Empowered Recall as well, so very quick for him to get around. And Hecarim is a scary facet. And why would he do that? Well, it's because Dragon's coming up in a minute. He got his minute Dragon. Told to Mega Min though.
Yujo caught out here. Scan of the week onto Swamp, but he's not going to stop. Onslaught of shadows over the wall, but he runs straight into Unica and gets a load of balls in his face. Stormbringer comes down as the bear is not going to get caught out. Dicey just hooking into that wall. Ultimate's traded, but no one going down.
Oh, Swamp does still have that rift out, so he could potentially reset and get back out on the map in time if he wants to. It doesn't look like he's going to, so I don't think either of these two teams are going to be forcing this dragon early. Obviously, it's on V3 Esports to more so pressure this dragon earlier on because they got the first dragon, so they can at least pressure Soul Point with just one more dragon in like at the 15-minute mark, for instance. That is a serious response that AXIZ actually have to deal with at some point, because while they've got that kill, they've got like 500 gold. That's like nothing really in the grand scale of everything at this moment in time. That's shared gold. It's equally distributed a lot of the time. It's probably slightly more onto the side of like of this Samira Sangchu at this moment, but it's not going to do much. Dicey getting caught out, but
could get a little bit dicey for him. Glacial Fissure knocks up the Nautilus, still has flash, will use it to jump under his tower, and does get stunned right at the end with those concussive blows. That flash being down means that V3 have got a little bit more pressure to start up this Drake like you're already talking about. But AXIZ, they're not just going to take that line down. Swamp once again visiting this top side. Recognize that Washidai is the main carry for V3 at the moment, but it does mean that Red side team can accelerate themselves towards Hex Tech Soul Point in a 5 minutes time.
That is not what AXIZ wanted to see. They wanted to see Cloud Drake come across and they go, yeah, all right, well, that kind of sucks for Volibear. Well, that's kind of bad for us from a Volibear perspective, but outside of that, this is fine. Like the only player that really cares about the Cloud Soul would be Volibear. Hex Tech literally enables three really, like Camille, Volibear, and Zaya all love this soul. Frankly, Hertel's going to like it because it's easier for him to get off his passive more.
Oh, true.
I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh is probably the only player who doesn't really care, but I mean, hey, random ults, you can just get in, dive in an extra auto attack. That's a bit more damage you can do. As it stands, though, this mid lane, Megamin hasn't had Yu-Gi-Oh's number. This was something I spoke about several times on the desk because Megamin's just always been able to do that. Hasn't had the ability of really a kill-heavy champion. And in the early laning phase, Yu-Gi-Oh has actually come out on top. Not too unusual for the matchup, given that it is Syndra versus Orianna. It's very even in a lot of spots, but just something I want to put out there as Megamin normally finds the solo bolo. Hasn't found it this time. Hasn't even found it with the jungle pressure, and there was that gang comp with Swamp earlier, remember? So, hey, does seem like they are going to funnel as much gold into Sangchu, get this Samira going, and I mean, that's a pretty strong idea to do.
Yeah, that...
Ooh, double play.
That's quite a lot of gold being funneled into Sangchu. Got the equivalent of 3 plates there because those last 2 were shared with Swamp. Extra 500 gold on the Samira. That's going to feel pretty good. And you still had that CS lead as well. And yeah, AXIZ setting up their win condition for success, denying the win condition of V3 as well. Got themselves a small but not insignificant gold lead at this point. And the big thing for me, Lexi, is this next Drake. I feel like if V3 don't get it, then it becomes a hell of a lot harder for them to find a focus in the mid game.
But what I want to really put out there at this moment in time is look at the game time middle court. I was saying 8 minutes to 10 minutes. It's almost always over by 14 minutes. We're about to get to 14 minutes, and V3 Esports, you could argue, are parody. The 1k gold lead that AXIZ have currently as they look for some... Oh, no.
Oh, Onslaught of Shadows very deep from Swamp as the super mega shockwave comes through. No jinx in this game. Didn't want to jinx that kill. Just one picked up for AXIZ.
I mean, yeah, getting that pick is pretty good, but like V3 Esports have far more pressure currently going with this Dragon Soul that they're going to be definitely trying to pressure on. Obviously, AXIZ would be more than happy with a Samira to quad stack a soul of a Hex Tech. That would be absolutely beautiful in their eyes, but I mean, it doesn't really enable much more from the rest of their team. So I mean, hey, it's kind of okay. Obviously, this all starts off with Megamin getting collapsed upon, but I mean, this is just well played. The hook from Dicey allows this whole thing to occur because obviously there was no Braum shield. There was nothing to protect. They weren't even able to jump to obviously the Syndra to give the extra buff and everything that you get with the jump. Nothing came out. And that was a really well-played rotation from the side of AXIZ, responding to pressure that their mid laner was feeling. However, not going to be good enough. They're not going to get this Rift Herald, and they still don't have much control at the moment.
You
These
say
two teams
that,
very even.
Lexi. TPs are coming in. Swamp is running forward as well. They want to commit to this as Dicey comes over the wall and hooks up Patel. That's not really a priority target. Look for Toltu on the backside, but Washide looking to index him out already, but you are jumping into a 1v3 that you just don't
Patel's
win.
really low.
Traded support for top laners so far, and flashes are being burnt by the V3 members to get out of dodge. Just ends up being a 1-for-1, but AXIZ secure priority around the Rift Herald.
Patel is still super low, and it does look like the side of V3 won't even fight this. So, I mean, hey, I got that one wrong. I really wasn't expecting, honestly, Washide jumping over the wall. That felt a little hopeful. I'll be very real. And that's kind of where the fight really went bad for them, because honestly, prior to that, they had set up rather well. Dress code is coming around, and they just need to play for dress code getting here. Sadly, they get caught out, and her tail takes a lot of the damage, but it's your support, so it's fine. This is where it goes wrong. Washide goes, oh, I can kill Tol too, and then immediately gets collapsed upon, and then it's like, oh, we traded a support for a top laner. We can't actually do anything because our support is also super low as well. Not an ideal spot, and because of this, they're able to get mid pressure. Megamin takes a bunch of damage, but it doesn't matter because Shirley comes out, and now they're just going to force this mid turret and then probably look at Hextech Dragon.
They're telling Unica trying to get into the midway, but you just can't do it, and that means that that mid lane tower does end up falling down. So one thing to note about that last fight, V3 were not fighting on item breakpoints. Look at Washida's inventory. Doesn't have that Divine Sunderer. Unica didn't have the chem tank completed either, and this is what we were worried about. That Drake going over to AXIZ means that the Soul isn't a viable win condition for a V3 anymore. Yes, they're going to run into mid lane, but I don't think they're even going to get this tower. It's starting to fall apart, Lexi.
Yeah, but I do want to call out, we're not going to be getting a Divine Sunderer on Swamp because he's actually just gone for that chem tank, which personally I'm not a huge fan of, but I understand the reasoning. And the reasoning is they need a dedicated tank. They need someone who can actually soak up a lot of their frontline damage. And because they've got Tol 2 on this cannon, they don't need to normally worry about having that extra damage that the Hecarim typically offers. If he can just be that proverbial tank on the front line with Dicey, it's going to be completely fine, because if Tol 2 can get a half decent ult off on this cannon, it's all going to be fine and dandy. Important things, mythics have all come in for the side of AXIZ outside of Dicey, which is going to take probably until 23 minutes. Yeah. Over on the side of V3 Esports, Washide just hasn't been able to get it because there's been a lot of pressure on this poor guy, and he hasn't had a lot of time to really soak up. He's also going for a particularly unique build as well.
Yeah, a little bit unique, but he's going to be able to round it off with this base after taking that top lane tower. Yep. So not feeling too upset. Not as enabled as he would like to be, but still relevant in the game with that Divine Sunderer now. So the split push, the side laning is a hell of a lot better. That extra sustain can be so important against a Kennen who loves to poke you out.
Yep, I mean, until you get your Divine Sunderer, you really do struggle with actually getting off your full combo, and this is now where we can start seeing the one-shot kind of capability that comes out. V3 Esports just completely seeding over their mid-turret.
Just get it.
Yeah, not really sure how that happened. I mean, obviously the call was from V3, just like, let's just force their turret. None of them seem to really be here outside of Sangchu and complete soul read, really, more than anything else.
And I mean, that's going to be so impactful when we talk about this Baron, which is spawning in a minute's time. If you don't have the mid lane tower, it becomes a lot harder to actually push that advanced vision into the enemy jungle. But with V3 taking that top and that mid tower in quick succession, they're a little bit more set up to succeed if we get to the Baron pit.
What they're not set up, though, is on this bot side. Tol2 does have his TP, not empowered quite yet, or at least I can't tell on these logos. I thought they would be by now. But
they are unleashed.
They are unleashed. Okay, it just looks like the same old version of TP that I'm always used to, so
Well, that's what they did. So they actually had they had the weird logo, I think, for like the pre 14 minutes one, and then the post 14 minutes one, it's the normal logo that like everyone's used to. It's all a bit weird. It's all a bit weird. I don't know why they couldn't have just have teleport not be usable on things before 40 minutes, but they had to change it to unleash teleport. Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't really matter.
I mean, I guess for the sake of brevity, whatever. Anyway, what is going to be important is obviously finding out who's going to be able to get this next dragon. Baron would be very ambitious for both these teams. Neither of them have particularly fast-taking heralds, especially without having any form of enchanters, so you don't have those extra buffs. V3 will have faster take, just because they have got a Camille as well as also a Zaya, so they have a particularly decent amount of quick, it's not burst, but I guess just 1 point of damage they can remove very quickly.
You've got execute. You can just you can pull the feathers back, and that does like 500, 600 or whatever, and then you've got obviously the kit from Washidai. Yeah. Your secure is pretty good. That's what we're talking about, and maybe if V3 are able to get themselves into that Baron pick, they could steal it away potentially with all of that extra breath. I know that Volibear has got some very, very good access into the back of the Baron pit, but as it stands, I don't think that's going to be our focus, at least not for the next minute, as Hex Tech is spawning soon, and Washidai, forced to hookshot wall dive himself away, does have the teleport, so can stay on top lane a little bit longer if he so chooses, but I think we'll likely just get himself down towards this bot lane, because it's still sole point for V3, remember, if they pick up this dragon.
And something I actually want to bring up is something you mentioned regarding Unica and this Volibear. Something we saw from Hachimecha when he played that Volibear earlier on today. He did a lot of diving of towers and turrets, like really pressuring the side, going, we will turn off your turret as a 3-man, as a 4-man. We will just find that 1 pick or 2 picks and just go for it. We haven't seen Unica and V3 actually opt in to a team fight, which kind of makes sense, because that one team fight they decided to do around Herald did not go well for them. So I can understand why they're doing this. The issue is they need to be the ones actually picking the fights and choosing when they want to go for this. Dragon is up, and the side of AXIZ have completely prepared for this, whereas V3 Esports look like they're still trying to figure out how to even find the river. Bless their cotton little socks.
They're trying. Where is it? Oh, TP going into the back line here from Toltu. We'll be able to channel it fully. Washidai not able to cancel, and still very far for the cannon to run here. So AXIZ, it appears that they are going to be able to secure this Herald, this Drake, but they did have to expend that teleport, and Washidai is going to get a lot of damage on this top lane tower.
Well, I don't know if they will, because Megamin reset really early on and actually went straight in, and he's running straight to this top side, and Washidai really can't afford to stay, because if Megamin lands combo, he's dead. I'm very confident in saying that. So he has to run off now. He can't hang around, and Megamin's going to be able to collect that wave. Only really a wave and a half crashed. So unlike LCS, our teams care about their top lanes and actually do get that farm.
Oh no, no man!
And these are our bottom 2 teams, mate.
No man! Why did you remind me of that GIF?
Why did you? The funniest thing in LoL Esports at the moment.
For context, I can't remember the match. Do you know what match it was?
It was 100 Thieves versus Golden Guardians. I know the match, mate.
100 Thieves versus Golden Guardians. Top lane wave didn't get touched by either team for 12 minutes.
Outside of 1 lane push
outside
from
of
the
one
side of
push,
100 Thieves. Like Sunday went to top twice to kill a wave twice. That was it. It was
top tip,
so
guys.
Bad.
League of Legends, 3 lanes.
And look at this. Megamin went top. Washidai's bot. People are mid, dress code's mid. Oh my god.
And there's a fight happening in the jungle. Unica gets the stun down onto Swampers. Toltu not quite able to get the access with the slicing maelstrom. That glacial fissure was so important so that AXIZ couldn't get the full V3.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, but like Braum's shield was great at just nullifying a bunch of damage that was getting thrown through. Toltu was landing all of those cannon Qs and everything else, but it just doesn't matter. A lot of the damage gets reduced. However, look at this rotation. I love this adaptation from AXIZ. They are just aggressive now, and they know that they win the team fights at the moment, because guess what? It's 5v4. Washidai's going to keep pushing. V3 Esports, you can't keep jostling around, because if you keep doing this, you're going to keep winning this game, and I don't think that was really the plan, guys. By the way, AXIZ, you need to collapse on them, all right? Like, when they do that, you have to collapse.
Are you flaming V3 for trying to win the game?
Yes. This is not how the script was given.
That's not fair.
I got given a different script for today. I prepared my notes effectively for this, and the fact that V3 are looking so good And there's only a 1k gold lead, so that, again, you know my interpretation of 1 and 2k gold leads. It really doesn't mean much to me.
Yeah.
It means fuck. I mean, literally nothing.
you are dropping some F-bombs today, Lexi.
I have no idea what you're talking about, so I'm very quickly
Airwaves are turning blue. Airwaves are turning blue.
It's a wild ride, but Washi Day's found Mega Min here.
No. Hookshot wall dive not connecting is bad. Shockwave used just to buy a little bit of time. Swamp making his way over, and I don't think that you win the 1v2. Washi Dai, the shield from the adapted defense with the hookshot wall dive out of range of the onslaught of shadows, trying to heal up with the grass box, trying to heal up with the divine sunderer, but just can't do it.
Power word death was used, the magic version.
Toltu jumped onto now, was looking for an assassination onto Yu-Gi-Oh, but not able to find it. Unleashed power. It's a good response from V3 in the top side, but look at the mid lane. AXIZ responding again with a push. Every single time we look at these teams, it's back and forth, constant trading, constantly trying to find an advantage.
And I wonder, the side of AXIZ are currently rotating. I believe 4 members are going to try and get this turret here. They're pinging it. I don't know why Sangchu isn't helping them, unless they do believe they can get this as a 2-man. I just feel like there was a better way of doing this. My interpretation of what should have probably happened there is Mega Min should have removed himself from the turret, reset, gone back to base, and probably defended the top side. And then he could have actually allowed himself to catch that wave in the top side, so Syndra wouldn't have got that turret, and then they could have gone from there. I mean, this is just Mega Min having fancy footsteps and Washi Day missing a lot. I love the fact that the ball here, speed up, actually keeps Swamp on top of Washi Day and doesn't actually let him get any form of edge around it. I mean, Tol2 just got collapsed upon. Really well played for immediately trying to just execute the moment he saw Unica, but it wasn't meant to be.
That's a little bit of a mistake, and that's something that Tol2 has been kind of characterized through for his time in the LJL. Not so much this game, only his first death there, but overextending, getting caught out a little bit whilst your team's making plays on the other side of the map, and that can be pretty bad for you. But as it stands, once again, Lexi, we are looking at a Hextech Drake in 30 seconds time, but now 27 minutes into the game, Baron is a real possibility for both of these teams. AD carries starting to scale up, so you can't just pick up that Drake and expect the enemy team to do nothing in return.
Yeah, but you need to have Washi Day rather for the side of V3 Esports on that top side if you really want to pressure the Baron. If you have him on the bot side and then you're using a TP, and if you just get kind of pulled off in a moment where you're not quite ready, I mean, honestly, this is a horrible reset from V3 Esports if they want to remotely contest or even pressure a Baron while Hextech Dragon comes up, because look at this. AXIZ are just like, yeah, we'll just immediately pop goes the weasel.
And I said that you shouldn't be able to just take this Drake with the enemy team doing nothing in response. However,
this is V3.
This is V3. I mean, they are securing some vision around this Baron, and the thing about like the sole point is that it doesn't actually mean too much until 5 minutes into the future. So if V3 are able to secure themselves meaningful advantages in the meantime, then yeah, it doesn't matter so much. But it's a very important question, and it's one that they haven't really answered with yes at any point in the split.
No, but this is also should have been a spot where V3 Esports should have been pressuring this for like ages ago. Imagine if one of these 3 Drakes that AXIZ secured actually were on V3. When they are now pressuring around this Baron pit, there's a lot more pressure on AXIZ to go, okay, we have to get this Dragon, and we know they're going to be doing this Baron. The thing is, for AXIZ, they never had to worry about it because V3 got the first few Dragons, and then the rest of the time, AXIZ have triple stacked. I argued at the beginning when we first saw that Hextech Soul that this is better for V3 Esports. The fact that they're not remotely stacking, the fact that AXIZ are going to just triple, potentially quad stack a Hextech Soul, I think that's basically game in and of itself, as it currently has one of the highest win rates if you're able to do this. Like it's
absurd.
broken.
But when you actually get the soul, it's ridiculous. I think same sort of power level as the old Chemtech Rift.
Yeah.
RIP in peace, Bozo. You will not be missed, and all that. But why should I hear on the bot side? 2 items here with that Hull Breaker completed. Is level 16 on the Camille. So we're talking about power levels. This champion is just going to the moon. And that's something that AXIZ aren't going to have to start to respect, because towers will fall very, very quickly if you leave her alone in a side lane.
As this game is playing out, while I predicted AXIZ to win Middlecott, it wasn't like this. It wasn't through macro. It wasn't remotely going to be through.
Are you calling this macro?
I mean, I'm calling this a game of Clash, to link back to an earlier analogy you gave me earlier. That's what I'm feeling of this match earlier. It's a competitive game of Clash, but I mean, Washi Day going over the wall, I feel like solidified the game of Clash to me, going straight onto Toll 2 earlier.
Yeah.
It's ever since then, I haven't really removed myself. Washi Day, sadly, to harp on this player, has not had the performance we were really expecting of them.
No.
They have been pressuring these side lanes effectively, and they've done that really well. The issue is, Toll 2's been doing a fantastic job of soaking it up. Jesus, that was the word. Soaking up all this pressure from Washi Day, and then just teleporting and just being more impactful in a lot of spots so far. And once Kennen gets 16, it's going to be night and day difference between these two top laners and what they're going to be able to do in team fights.
That ultimate does a pretty disgusting amount of damage. It's sort of in the rumble tier for me as Unica not quite able to interrupt Swansrika, where it just does more damage than I feel like is balanced. Obviously, all of the balance is about like, well, no one's going to stand in a Kennen ultimate for 10 million years.
Oh my god, I've never seen someone get 24 ability haste and 24% attack speed just from a Hextech Dragon.
That's actually quite nutty.
Yeah, that's just from them quad stacking the dragons.
That's a lot.
Toll 2
is
just going to be firing Qs out like a machine gun.
And Lexi, it's happened again. We've got another 5 minutes with nothing happening, and Hextech Drake is going to be on the Rift soon. And do you reckon that V3 are going to contest this one?
They have to! They actually have. Well, Washine's on the right side of the Rift, okay?
Yes.
So they've got their top laner in a spot where he can help.
Actually,
I mean,
Lexi, I think that Washidai might be on the wrong side of the Rift currently, because multiple members of AXIZ are converging on his position, able to get a pretty significant magic damage shield. Actually uses the ultimate, but the shockwave comes through, and he just can't buy enough time. Actually, the hookshot wall dive was a little bit close to him getting out, but with all of those resources invested in the bot side of V3, doing something proactive, starting up this Baron, down to 4,500, down to 2,000, but Swamp is around. They're just going to claim it, though, and now, can AXIZ find a fight on the backside? Beautiful! Scatter the weak to disengage Swamp, and V3 get a Baron and keep their hopes in this game alive.
Okay, so they're doing that. That's great. The thing is, will they be able to reset in time and actually set up to defend for this Dragon Soul? Because the members of AXIZ are like, okay, fine, you got away, really nice one. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh deserves a huge round of applause just for basically saving 4 members all at once, because the shadows were coming for them. They had no opportunity of that. But this Hextech Soul is definitely going to be going to AXIZ very quickly if V3 don't get here fast.
Unica isn't going to get there in time, but they're going to still opt in for the fight. They're going to have to run double shockwave, but it's wonderfully immune by the Stormbringer as Washidai's TP'd on the other side of the map. V3 have bought themselves a load of time, but are they going to be able to get anything with it? Doesn't seem so. AXIZ, they grab that Hextech Soul, but V3 have mid priority.
Yeah, V3 need to really make this push count now, because the side of AXIZ will gladly do any and every team fight till literally the cows come home, I think, is the expression I should use here, because they've got the passive now. They've got so much damage. They've got so much ability haze. I mean, honestly, when Sangchu gets to do a proper fight and Devil Trigger off,
oh my lord! Oh my lord! That's not okay, Lexi. That's not okay, that much damage. Toll 2 had the Zhonya's, but he wasn't able to use it in time. V3.
DC chained.
Got a 4v5 now. What can they do with this? They've got that Baron, which means that pushing down these towers is a hell of a lot easier. But AXIZ, like we already mentioned, have that Hextech Soul. So maybe they can win out in a 4v5 fight.
Yeah, but they don't have any wave clear. It's all on Megaman to be their wave clear. Sangchu is not going to be doing any form of real with the Samira. Like, look at this. Hatel is taking damage, but I mean, what are you getting off of this? Because this whole time, Washiday's bot side.
20 seconds, 15 seconds until Toll 2 is up in mid lane. Inhib falls. I've not got the stats next to me, Lexi, but I'd be willing to bet that that is one of the few inhibs that V3 have taken this split. And yes, they are a Drake Soul down, but they are in a better position than they have ever been to win a game in this split.
I'm actually going to bring those stats up because I'm too interested to actually know the stats of V3 Esports and their total inhibitors. Throughout all of their games, they have only accrued 1 inhibitor.
Well, double it. V3 on the rise. Looking good.
I feel like the stats of what I'm reading is wrong, or I'm misinterpreting it, because that just feels ridiculously low.
I mean, V3 games haven't been particularly well favored for them, so
that's true. I'm now wanting to know where that other game was that they lost, clearly, where they also got that inhibitor, because I'm like, man, have I actually been like really downplaying V3? No, I have been downplaying V3. In all fairness, absolutely I have. Oh. Because if you still look at this environment, V3 Esports are like 400 gold up. Cool. AXIZ have Dragon Soul. That's a big difference. And Baron's dropped. Like, yes, you've got a mid inhibitor, but like,
Unica needs to be careful. Her tail popping the Glacial Fizzer as well. Dicey looking to get into the backline, but Yu-Gi-Oh is going to Zonya's the onslaught of Shadow Shockwave. Doesn't connect onto anyone because the Devil Trigger has killed them all. Double kill for Sanctuary. Swamp keeps going forward, but gets a fair bit of damage straight back into his face. It doesn't matter though. Sanctuary with the quadra kill. Washidai is going to have to do something absolutely tremendous to save the game, but I don't think he's going to be given the opportunity. Toltu and Megaman will chase him down. He'll hookshot, wall dive in to try and pick up a couple kills. Going for the 1v2, I think, is your only option here, and he is going to be able to pick up Toltu once this Sonya's falls off. Actually, the flash away, the hookshot, wall dive once again to re-engage, but he just can't get in. It's so sad, Washidai. You nearly made it happen, but the TPs are going to be going into the base, and AXIZ are going to pick up this win.
5 seconds on Unica. That's the big important one. That's going to be the bear that's going to see if they can do this. But pop me with those devil triggers, Sangshu. You've had an MVP performance and you are the carry.
Unica diving in, but you don't win a 2v5. Once more, Sanctuary popping off. This is a game, it got a while to get going. V3, they nearly had it, but all AXIZ needed was one team fight, just one reset from the Samira, and they claim victory today.
Well played, AXIZ. You made me sweat. You made me get worried for it, but boy, did you deliver in that one team fight. That's all it took. They got the Dragon Soul. They didn't have a fight till really then as a 5v4. And of course, AXIZ popped off. Sangchu, I really was hopeful that you'd have a pop-off moment. You did. Washide very much tried his best, but again, Megumin was really good on this Orianna, constantly shielding and protecting and preventing Toltu from going down, which caused them a lot of issues. At the end of the day, I mean, we expected it to be AXIZ. Realistically, to win this. I know you predicted V3, but I also assume you marked in calendars. You were like, yeah, the AXIZ is actually going to win this. All right. I mean, this is
that's an assumption that you're allowed to make, Lexi. It's not one that I particularly agree with. But no, it was V3 lacking a bit of that proactivity in the mid game early. It was really, really great for them. But as the game caught on, they never really set up properly. They were never able to find an engage that worked for them. It felt like if this game had gone 5 more minutes, then the split push from the Camille would really have sealed the deal for them, but that Hex XL just proved to be too much, and then Sanctuary resetting through in that penultimate team fight was just too easy.
I mean, I do feel like they've found an idea, an identity. Have V3. There's at least a thought process and bubble going on. I just really would have liked them to have pressured these dragons more. Like, just getting one more dragon would have been threatening Soul Point for a long period of time. And like, AXIZ were already playing as if it really mattered. So why not just kind of force their hand a bit more? The fact is, multiple dragons went over to the side of V3, the side of AXIZ for free.
Yeah.
AXIZ didn't respond particularly well. They did have that one where they got the Baron, and it felt like it was actually turning in AXIZ's favor. Issue was, after it dropped off, there was still the Hextech Soul, and they still got punished afterwards.
Yeah, it's rough. And with this defeat, I think we can solidly say that V3's playoff hopes are kind of dead in the water. AXIZ was one of those teams, or are one of those teams in the conversation for that sort of 6th place spot. And V3, it would have been an uphill battle even if they did get the win today to get themselves in that conversation. But at least the potential was still there. Now, Very, very unlikely.
And for AXIZ, at least there's no blue shell in their future. There's no random upset game for them now. And they've now got a win over the Hawks. So that's another important thing. So it's all these small things that will all come together. Hawks versus AXIZ is going to be the big one. We've got the Narwhal versus the Birdie. I guess we'll find out how that match goes later on in this third round robin. And middle cop, that's one thing I want to talk about very briefly before we do go to a slightly longer break before we come in for our penultimate match. This is the triple round robin now. We are at the break point. We're starting to see trajectories. How are you feeling like some of these teams are coming into this?
Trajectories, well, DFM, good. Rascal Jester, good. Sengoku, good. Burning Core CGA, not possibly the strongest performances that they've been having recently, but I still think that they do operate in an echelon above the likes of AXIZ and Hawks. I know that there have been a couple of not quite blue shell moments, but upset victories there. But I think on the whole, if you compare sort of Burning Core CGA versus AXIZ Hawks, there's one set of teams that I think is clearly in the advantage. Then V3 close today, but I think still a little bit too far off the pace for me.
And that's where it's going to be. Our penultimate match of Detonation Focus Me facing off against Sengoku Gaming. We're going to definitely have a fair, decent chat about that matchup. Lots of fireworks to talk about. I mean, these are two big teams for the LJL.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go on a short break. We'll come back. I do promise you that. And when we do, DFM and Sengoku will be there for you.